A stadium packed with dignitaries provided a ceremonious welcome to Muhammadu Buhari before he was sworn in for his second term on Wednesday. But not everyone is so reverential. With the economy struggling, unemployment skyrocketing, and over 100 Chibok girls missing since 2014, Buhari does not exactly tick all the boxes for a popular leader. So, how did he win 56% of the vote in February's election? The opposition argues Buhari cheated, and it's challenging the results in court. Well, joining me now to discuss this from London is Kayode Ogundamisi. He was a member of Buhari's 2019 presidential campaign for the ruling All Progressives Congress Party. And in Dubai is the spokesman for the opposition leader Atiku Abubakar's presidential campaign, Segun Showunmi. Gentlemen, good to have you on the Newsmakers. Segun, nobody else is making a big noise about this. They seem to accept that Buhari has won. Is this a bit desperate from your side, from Atiku's side, challenging the results?
Everybody is making what you call the calm before the storm. Nigerians generally are shocked. The level of shock that has hit them is such that they never imagined that they were going to come a day in the country where an election will resemble the feasting and the balkanization of the country, including the criminality that has produced the results. We are only following the dictates and the attitude of His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, who is a Democrat through and through. And in Atiku's case, Atiku prefers that things are done in a methodological, orderly manner, given that the laws allows us to go to court, which we have gone, and it allows us to file our petition and bring our case before the court, which we have done. But nobody, not even the Buhari government, should ever mistake that we're going about things methodologically and peacefully to mean that maybe we've accepted or we're going to be cowed or we're going to abandon the prosecution of our case. What we hope will happen is that very soon the case will open up and Nigerians will begin to see how this whole mess that we have gotten ourselves has happened. And you would have noticed that most of the big players in the country, most of the former leaders of our country who normally will grace a swearing in with their presence, all of them have stayed away. The president himself could not even bring himself to make a speech at his own declaration. It is indicative of the fact that he knows that that mandate is stolen, he doesn't have a right to be there, and he's there illegitimately.
Kayode, people from the outside looking in, trying to wonder how, if all the indicators of Buhari's first term suggest that things haven't improved, corruption's still bad, poverty and unemployment still bad, the country's still insecure. With all of that in mind, why would 56% of Nigerians choose to give this man another term? Would you agree that maybe that's a little bit mysterious?
Well, if that is mysterious, then we have to cancel all the votes given to the opposition candidate, Atiku Abubakar. If he's saying the election was rigged, then that means all the millions of votes accredited to him are not real. But look, the country has moved forward. This is before a competent court of law, the laws of the land. The court is going to determine the viability of the election. And whatever frustration, whatever angry adjective being used by the opposition candidate, Atiku Abubakar, is just an opinion. It's in court. The current president, Muhammadu Buhari, was in court 3 times when he felt aggrieved, and the court gave judgment that the PDP won the election. He moved on. He kept contesting, and today is a 2-time elected president of the country. I think the opposition, we advised them during the election that they should spend more time with the nooks and crannies of the Nigerian electorate, but they were busy aligning with people who wanted to divide the country. They were busy spreading fake news. But we've moved on. We can consider things are not the way it should be, but things are getting better.
Segun, if the appellate court comes back and says the election stands, Buhari did win, would you accept that?
If the appellate court, since it's not a final court in this matter, we will take the matter straight to the Supreme Court. And when we go to the Supreme Court, and if for any reason the Supreme Court rules against us, we will just know that the entire Nigerian citizenry has been shortchanged. Sometimes people can be powerless in the face of draconian measures that have been put in place to suppress them. But the worst thing that can happen to anybody or to Nigeria,
you can't even
especially
subject yourself to the rule of law.
Is for those who feel aggrieved. It's for those who feel aggrieved not to be able to exercise the right within the franchise that's available within the law. And far from being angry, the comments and adjectives that we have used have always been those that are measured. Some of us are not going to go into a revisionist agenda, but we recall the kinds of adjectives that General Buhari usually used every time he was in court. If he wasn't, trying to implode the country, he was making statements that could lead to violence. You would have noticed that Atiku Abubakar has calmed the frayed nerves of his supporters, and in any case, he has just followed the process of the law.
Okay, let me get a response
all we
from
are saying
Kayode.
to them is that no amount of harassment, no amount of intimidation is going to allow us to abandon the case.
Kayode?
You can see appropriating and reappropriating. You were asked, you asked him, will you respect the decision of the Supreme Court? And he's now sort of impugning on the integrity of the Nigerian judiciary. These are the kind of characters, rhetorics the Nigerian electorate witnessed and decided to just dump them in the history books. You cannot eat your cake and keep it. You cannot eat it and have it. It's either you respect the laws of the land. If the laws of the land says Buhari was not duly elected, Buhari will go back to his village in Daura. He's not above the country. I don't see any reason why, if the Supreme Court decide that Atiku has no case, the Atiku camp will now be saying Nigeria is not a country that should be accepted. Look, if you want to become the president and commander-in-chief of a country, you subject yourself to the rule
Kayode,
of law.
let me ask you something.
And if you display those moments.
Just moving away from the dispute over the election, I just want to ask you about the failures over the past few years, because you would agree, as I mentioned, Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index, Nigeria in the same place as it was before, 144th. The Minister of Labor and Employment, Chris Ngige, Senator, said that unemployment will reach 33.5% by 2020. That's next year. Terrible. Corruption, unemployment, poverty, insecurity. Boko Haram has splintered, so it's become worse. So even though Buhari's been sworn in for another term, would you accept, Kayode, that Buhari's made a bit of a mess of his first term?
We would concede to the fact that Buhari has not, the country concedes to the fact that the Buhari government has not fulfilled all his electoral promises. But the country would also concede, as it's been renewed in a mandate, that some areas of governance has improved in terms of infrastructure. The Boko Haram crisis you're talking about, we are not happy with where we are, but we are happy we moved away from where it was when the former administration were there. And we are quite hopeful that moving forward with this second term, the government will be able to increase its security architecture to limit Boko Haram and actually disengage them. Before now, you couldn't be in Abuja and some cities, they were being blown up, the United Nations Center. But it's not a government that is in denial. There are challenges, and those challenges are being addressed, and they will be addressed.
Segun, final answer from you.
We have to always remind ourselves that one of the things that democracy affords countries and citizens is to take a position, as it were, on a referendum on the performance of the incumbent. It has never happened, and this is also an aberration, that on all the key indicators for performance and measurement, the incumbent failed and failed woefully. And you come to the Nigerian space and say that the Nigerians now honored them with more opportunities to make their life much more miserable. They failed the first time. We are not hopeful of whatever they can do now. We're just pleading and hoping that when all is done and dusted, the Nigerian people will have the kind of leader that has a conceptual framework, that the vision can carry Nigeria out of this mess. I have looked at all the thematic headings. I try to see where I can give them a bit of a score, but on all material indicators, they scored 0. They didn't do well in human capital development. They didn't do well with healthcare. Their candidate even runs up and down other countries for his own health. They didn't do well with social stabilization. They didn't do well on security. They didn't do well on national cohesion. They didn't do well on power infrastructure. They didn't do well on anti-corruption. It was just a farce and a charade. I ask, by what magic do normal people vote in a government that has not done well? In any case, unlike what my friend Kayode is saying, I didn't say we will not respect the decision of the courts. No, I said we will take it to the ultimate, which is the Supreme Court. And thereafter, we will then see how the things are called out. We are Democrats. Atiku Abubakar is a sure-footed Democrat of very long-standing history, and we do not intend to depart from that. We will just say Nigerians should tarry a while. They should keep faith with the candidacy and with the agenda and the hope and the vision we bring. And by the grace of God, we believe when we get our mandate back, Nigeria will move very, very quickly in all the right direction under any proper leadership.
Segun Showunmi and Kayode Ogundamisi, I thank you both for taking the time to talk to us.